New BF 31M of 9 months is insatiable s-timeually. I 32F am not used to saying no, and the frequency with which he seeks s-time is really startling. Advice from people dating married to people with high s-time drive. I'm a year post-divorce and back into an otherwise incredible relationship. My ex-husband and I are on good terms. We got married young and become two very different people. We went through a very dark time, got a divorce, and since then have been far more cordial and friendly than we were in the last years of our marriage. But, due to some personal issues, my ex-husband and I almost never had s-time. We were married for 9 years and together for 11, and I would say that within the last 6 years it was, at best, semi-annually. It destroyed my self-esteem. So, we divorce, I work on me. I go on a few dates and it was pretty rotten. Then I reconnect with an old friend, rather platonically, as I wanted to send my condolences as I found out his wife had passed a while ago. We meet for coffee, we have an attraction, and it just goes from there. My BF is, s-timely speaking, the polar opposite of my ex. My ex could only do it under very specific circumstances and specific requirements. My BF has no such requirements. And things that should be a turn-off seem to be the opposite. I come home from the gym and reek? He's into it. I'm just out of the shower? He's into it. I'm washing dishes? He's into it. I'm wearing crappy leggings and a housecoat? Apparently that's just lingerie with more layers. Haven't shaved my pits legs in a couple of days? Well, apparently that's hot, too. He will ask for s-time many times a day. 2 or 3 times a day he'll make a move. If I say no, he backs off and doesn't push, but I also sometimes just do it to make him happy. I'm not against it, and it's nice to have someone who is so s-timely attracted. It's a huge ego boost for sure. I mentioned it to my therapist and she said she was concerned. On one hand, I'm not used to someone with a high s-time drive. He's very different than my ex. My ex had very low levels of energy in general, whereas my current BF has boundless energy. He runs even in the freezing cold. He is always doing something, learning something, or thinking about ways to improve something. He exercises regularly and his downtime is reading or studying. It could just be a difference in energy levels, but if my BF had his way, we'd have s-time 15 or 16 times a week. He respects my boundaries but has none of his own. It's been great to help me try new things and engage in my own fantasies, but I've never met anyone like that. When my therapist said she was concerned, I didn't know what to say. I don't feel like he doesn't respect my boundaries. I don't feel like this is that crazy, but my marriage was so very toxic for entirely different reasons that I feel like I need a sanity check. On the whole, am I happy? Yes. Is this more of what I had been looking for in life? Yes. Could I see a future for the two of us? Absolutely. But I'm now questioning myself over the whole s-time issue, as now my therapist has cast doubt. Update, to new BF 31M of 9 months is insatiable s-timely. I 32F am not used to saying no, and the frequency with which he seeks s-time is really startling. Advice from people dating married to people with high s-time drive. Well, it's been a week. I wanted to thank everyone for their comments and support. I had a weekly session with my therapist and asked directly what was concerning and asked it straight off the bat. In short, the session went south almost immediately. She had no real reason why it was concerning, but starting to say that it could be the sign of a personality disorder, past s-timeual trauma, or even a brain tumor. I began to spin. The session didn't get very far. I was totally confused, and so I called my family doctor. She had phone consults and I told her everything, including what the therapist had said, and the doctor laughed. She said it was so unlikely to be anything and said things that were reassuring, a lot of what was said here. Basically, he's a healthy, vital 31-year-old male who is in a s-timeless relationship for several years and is working out his additional s-time interest. She said enjoy it and gave me a referral to a different therapist. I called the new therapist almost right away. They were really responsive and we had a quick intro session. I explained why I was switching and she said it sounded like jealousy on behalf of other therapists but wouldn't explain further. Over Christmas my BF and I had a very long, personal, detailed conversation about our future, and in the new year, we're going to jointly find a new place to live and move in together. His s-timeually advances haven't slowed, not one iota. I got my COVID booster and felt really punk and he was just so present. He laid with me and we watched A Christmas Story and he stroked my hair. I realized I was letting my last therapist dictate how I felt when the reality was right in front of me. I was being toxic and his s-timeually interest was the opposite of toxic. We had Christmas with both families and my parents again told me how excited they were I was in a happy relationship and how great it was to have a nice, happy person as my partner, particularly one who loves to eat in Christmas and enjoys family gatherings. All in all, I feel like a good and rereading my last post makes me cringe. C'est la vie. TL. Doctor therapist had no reason to say concerned. She tried to pass it off as a tumor. I had to switch therapists and get away from her as it was just going downhill. Looking back, I realized she was trying to tell me how to feel about things I knew were healthy and normal. Thank you for your advice. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, she had no real reason why it was concerning but starting to say that it could be the sign of a personality disorder. This is probably what your therapist actually wanted to make you keep an eye out for. The S-time drive alone and behavior doesn't mean this directly, but your post, how you speak about this person, and your replies really sound like love beaming. It doesn't hurt to be aware that this is a possibility. I was totally confused and so I called my family doctor. She had phone consults and I told her everything, including what the therapist had said, and the doctor laughed. She said it was so unlikely to be anything and said things that were reassuring. A lot of what was said here. Why would you trust a family doctor more than a licensed mental health professional on behavioral matters? Over Christmas my BF and I had a very long, personal, detailed conversation about our future, and in the new year, we're going to jointly find a new place to live and move in together. If you're happy, that's great. Just be careful about being pushed to move too quickly. I promise I am not trying to S it on your happiness. I have just seen and read about situations like this a lot. I don't think you have any cause for actual concern, but don't get addicted to the highs that you currently have in your relationship. Op answer, I didn't articulate her response effectively. I asked her what was concerning and she really had no answer. I pushed and she gave me a reason, but one she quickly admitted probably wasn't a problem, so she resorted to another possibility, which is even more remote. Then after being silent for a beat she goes, or it could be an end-stage brain tumor. I've heard of that. She had to back into some diagnosis and there wasn't a rhyme or reason. I felt like I was going crazy. In her view, he was either mentally ill or about to die from cancer, or he was perfectly normal. Or I was crazy. I felt like I was being made to be crazy. I called my family doctor because I trust her judgment, and suddenly there was a whole host of issues. I asked her directly about the chance that it was a tumor and she said straight up that it was unprofessional to even make that claim, that she isn't a doctor and there are no clinical markers. That it was so rare and this was outside her scope. At this point, I was spinning. My new therapist took an appointment and gave me an early option, and I needed to go over these issues. Outside of having a high S-time drive, he isn't controlling or intrusive. He doesn't feel the need to interject himself in my life. Love beaming was brought up, but in general nothing seems to follow that definition. It's a good relationship, but it has good boundaries. I was going out with my friends and he was tired, which my ex would have insisted I stay home. He was happy for me to go and he enjoyed a quiet evening. He does things on his own with his friends. When we're together we enjoy each other's company, and when I was sick after my Moderna booster, he just laid there with me and we watched Christmas movies and he played with my hair, which he knows I like. He didn't push S-time, We just sat there being boring together. There was no drama. No stress. Just two people being dull and being happy. My ex would have found drama or picked a fight. Instead, we snacked and chatted. My therapist and I had minor issues before, but she knows how bad my first marriage was and that I found someone who washes every day and has a career and interests is such a huge change. I don't understand why she felt the need to pathologize something that wasn't pathological. Redditor 2. It's been scientifically proven that men who regularly exercise and eat healthier tend to produce higher levels of testosterone. It can make them quite virile. I do notice that myself after several months of regular exercise, especially if I incorporate more weightlifting than cardio. But in the end, your issue is just one of communication. You're in a completely healthy relationship. Redditor 3. The only concern your old therapist should have had was if you felt unsafe saying no or coerced into saying yes. Which doesn't sound at all like your guy. I am currently working through all the damage an ex did to my self-esteem to feel comfortable with my husband, who's a lot like your BF. I'm so happy you found a new therapist and communicating with your partner. All the best. Redditor 4. So glad you didn't let someone dictate your life. One thing I would add is make sure you take the time to really know each other before moving together. 9 months is a long time, and at the same time, it's not that much before making a decision that is difficult to come back from. But yes, enjoy it. S-time is good, especially when it's done with someone you love. Redditor follow-up. So many people don't realize that some therapists are both terrible people and terrible at their jobs. They inflict trauma on their clients. I'm so glad Op got a second opinion. Redditor 5, great update. Congrats. The opinion of others can really sway how we think sometimes, especially when that opinion is of someone you know and trust, like a therapist, professor, close family member. It's always good to take a step back and evaluate how you feel. Happy to hear you're taking some bigger steps. Good luck living together. Redditor 6, yikes. I'm concerned about your new therapist too. Saying your old therapist was jealous, and then refusing to explain is not professional. Redditor follow-up. I mean, the old therapist's response does kinda sound like jealousy. I'm sure the new therapist mentioned it and then quickly realized it's not a good idea to make assumptions and talk another therapist that he or she doesn't know. Redditor 7. I don't like the new therapist either. They shouldn't have tried to explain the reason why the previous therapist had a problem. It seems rather unprofessional. Your first therapist wasn't wrong. Bipolar disorder and past trauma can cause s-timeually. Let's face it, it is pretty unusual for someone who has hobbies and a job to have enough time and energy to have s-time 3 times a day every day for almost a year. I think this issue is he's putting you in a bad spot because most people are not capable of this type of s-timeually relationship. You feel badly saying no because he asks all the time and then you give in because you don't want to keep saying no. Most people would have enough awareness of their partner to realize it's not appropriate to ask for s-time constantly. Will you feel the same way a year from now? 5 years from now? If every day he's asking multiple times for s-time? Human s-timeuality is a spectrum, certainly. But he needs to be a bit more aware that him pushing to have his s-timeual needs satiated might create friction between the two of you. Redditor follow-up. Spot on. Op should have discussed the s-time drive topic with her partner, express how she feels about it, and more importantly lay out her boundaries. Instead, she's sliding more in people-pleasing mode. Redditor 8. So his advances haven't changed, but has your perspective on them changed? You don't feel like you need to or resent that it occurs anymore? Op answer. I never did resent them. I never felt like I needed to give in as he didn't take it bad. I was coming from a marriage where there was no s-time, so to hit the opposite felt like I was falling into a really bad pattern, but I couldn't figure out what that pattern was. Turns out his combination of a sick wife thus no s-time plus intimacy plus his weight loss has upped his s-time drive and we're in a new-ish relationship. Redditor 9. Okay, So I read your original post. Maybe I might understand the both of you and your trauma regarding your S-time life with you ex. As I understood, your new BF is totally into you. And also respect your boundaries. Big plus, my HB and I hit it a lot at the start of our marriage. We're a couple years further and I do want to have S-time with him, it's fantastic. Even when I'm not in the mood at all, also medical issues, once we start it's amazing. It's the glue and oil in our relationship. So even if I'm not in the mood, I'll go with the flow and it's amazing. I explicitly make time for our S-time. I don't want to lose that connection. Even if I'm feeling not okay, I know this is important for the both of us. Even more important for me than him. Your new BF sound like he's really into you, enjoy and sometimes forget about dinner or shopping or whatever needs to be done. Just enjoy what he's giving to you. I feel that you haven't been enjoying S-time for a long time with your ex. It can be so different than that. Wish you both luck.